wondering, what's the point?
Other countries are doing it though. I saw on Twitter or X or whatever it is, a girl in Sweden qualified for the last Olympics, didn't get selected, is I think ranked like 35th in the quota in the women's 1500, and they're not selecting her this Olympics either.
Insane.
So as much as we sometimes give AA a hard time, this is one thing that they have improved on. They are sending full teams where they can.
I think it's going to potentially that will benefit Jack Rayner as well. I think he may roll into that.
Yeah, because countries aren't accepting their positions.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how much running.
For which event? The 10K?
For the 10K, yeah.
Wow.
Potentially the 5K too. That's what my Norwegian mate, he is close to the ground over there. That's what he's telling me. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest needs not much of an introduction because I'm calling her the greatest female distance runner that Australia has ever produced, the world cross-country champion. Please make some noise for Benita Willis. Hey Benita, thanks for being here. Welcome to the Inside Run podcast. Look good in your lululemon get-up, and I reckon you've had a busy day, but yeah, thanks for coming along.
Yeah, look, thanks for having me, and I love what you guys do, and just promoting the sport's fantastic. So yeah, I know when I was running there wasn't anything like this, so yeah, I love hearing you chat about drama and all sorts of things, and look, it adds to it for sure. Yeah.
What has your day and weekend looked like? Like you're an ambassador, were you doing some stuff with the live stream and a coach now as well? So yeah, maybe just give us a bit of a rundown about what the last 48 hours look like for you.
Yeah, look, it's a really busy weekend because I feel like, when you're doing a bit of live stream, you sort of got to focus on who's in the field and who's coming and the head-to-heads. But then I've got in my mind, I've got so many people running that I'm always thinking, what's this person going to do? What pace is this on for? I've got people coming up to me in our tent, our lace-up running tent. And it's one of those things that, and then I'm also an ambassador for Gold Coast Marathon. I'm on the board of Events Management Queensland, so we sort of run this event as well. So I've got a lot of different hats, and I've got a 1-year-old running around as well, so she's hectic.
Which is probably the hardest bit of the weekend, yeah.
I think the 1-year-old's the hardest.
How do you manage all that stuff though? So like you got an athlete sending you a message and you're trying to like jump between head spaces. Are you good at that, like over a short period of time?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, look, I'm not running. I don't probably run more than 40 Ks a week, so nothing like even what you guys are talking about. So I think I've got a lot of energy to dedicate to that, and I always think the more people you coach, it's that emotional energy as well.
Yeah.
And I know when I was competing, I was started doing a little bit of coaching, and I just didn't have as much emotional energy to put towards that. But now, look, these weekends are really tiring for sure, and you're always thinking, I've got to do all these things, and am I doing everything right? And look, and I coach elites, like I coach the former. Like I was hoping you guys stuffed them up more today because Lindsay Flanagan's my athlete.
I told you, Brady, but Benita would not be happy with us.
Straight away, he's like, Benita won't be happy with us. I'm like, why? What have we done? And he's like, her athlete now lost. And I'm like, no one should. Do you care about that stuff?
Look, I mean, no, we don't care too much, but that was probably one of the highlights of Lindsay's career when she came, and so I was hoping that they didn't break the record today. But
she'll have to come back next year.
Yeah, she'll have to come back. But it's sort of like from the elites all the way through to the rec runners, and I placed as much importance on, I had a girl break 1 hour 50 yesterday and a half for the first time. It was a PB from 10 years ago. She's, from down south, in her 50s. I placed as much importance on someone like that, and I had a lady today breaking 4 hours for the first time. She's turning 60 soon, so it's one of those things that it's just as important to me for those people as the people I've got running up the front as well. So it's just thinking, and pacing wise, I coach quite a few Americans, so I'm always thinking like miles, and then I'm going back to Ks. And when I was running, I didn't even wear a watch. So when I ran my marathon PB, I didn't wear a watch. I couldn't even people have told me what pace it was, but in the race, I didn't even know. So it's very different to when I was an athlete too.
Benita, a lot of our current crop of top female distance runners have always said, like, who did you look up to? And they mention you. Do you play much of a mentoring role with our current crop? Are you in touch with them regularly?
Yeah, like even Jess, for sure. And I get in touch with a lot of them because I know how hard the sport is, and with this drama that's gone on with the selections and things like that, all you can do is your best, and you're always copying criticism from everywhere. And I know when I was an athlete, I didn't handle that very well, and I didn't really have anyone to talk to that, wasn't a coach or someone like that. So I always think it's really important that people feel like they can approach you as well. And it's not about, am I coaching them? I'm not coaching them, but it's about, someone that understands the sport that can help. And yeah, a number of our top athletes, message me on Instagram or text me or call me, and even share news that's personal. And I think that's a really cool part of our lives as well. That's not just all running.
Do you ever send a message back just being like, can you slow down and stop taking my records? They're slowly been disappearing over the last couple of years. And look, I saw there was a 2K at Monaco Diamond League, and I've still got that record, but that's definitely going to go. I think it's in about a week. Look, it's a 5K on the road still, or 20K on the road?
Yeah, I've got 5K on the road, 10K on the road as well, and they were pre-super shoes. So
so you probably still got them, really.
Well, but when you're talking about, so I live on the Gold Coast, right, and everyone does wear super shoes here, just going for jogs, and I feel like I've never been fit enough since my career stopped to wear super shoes. So I've never tried them because I feel like I've never been in good enough shape to wear them.
Oh, that's a real shame. You'll have to get out and get some. Actually, I've got a website for you. Benita, why is it taking so long for these girls to catch you?
I don't know. Hey, I think cross country was my best thing, right? And marathons, I was very inconsistent. I've done a 2:22, then my next best was 2:26. Even 10K on the track. I was the first person to break 31 minutes. And it was one of those things that, I feel like they've all come through quite quickly, but now we've just got such good depth. And I feel like the more competition and the more people that are vying for spots on the Olympic team and breaking the records. Once Jess Hull broke that 5K record, that was a few years ago now, they've all been toppling down. And I just feel like they're competing against each other as well, and not only to break the records, but to be in the team. So I always think when records get broken, it's a sign of depth in the sport and that our sport's moving in the right direction. So I'm happy to see them broken. It's one of those things that, look, I loved having a lot of records, but to me, my running was all about the results and the placings, and I think that's why cross country was huge to me. And even the weekend's races, I love seeing racing. But when you see records getting broken, it's a fantastic thing. And to see both those marathon ones get broken a couple of years ago, that's huge. And I think the marathons are going to keep going down as well.
Benita, I've got a question about a bit nerdy in terms of now that you're a coach and just things that you would have changed as an athlete. So do you ever look back at old training diaries and sort of, now that you're coaching, analyse your own training? And if you could go back, what are some of the things that you would change in training, whether it be mileage, the types of sessions you're doing, or intensity?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I feel like with people I coach now, I do use the mistakes I made as an athlete and use that for people that I coach. So I think one thing was that I always did 3 sessions a week, and I think that's too much intensity. And people that I coach now usually train Tuesday, Friday. I think I used to probably run too many Ks sometimes. I didn't do any cross training. When I got injured, I was out for ages, and I never listened to my body. And we always encourage people to listen to their body, but I feel like my coach set the training, and I would meet these running groups all the time and just do the training. And I would always run with guys on easy days, and I think that's a big mistake because I used to train a lot with a guy that could break 13 minutes for 5K, and my PB for 5K was 14:47. So he's always going probably way easier than me, but that's just how we train. So some days I might be doing a tempo on an easy day because I'm running with the guys that I train with, and then I've got to show up for a session the next day. So that was training too hard all the time. And so my emphasis now as a coach is on recovery, and with what Jess was saying as well, listening to your body. It's fantastic that she talks about that because I think that's a huge way to improve. And I had a really long career. I went to 4 Olympics and I was going for a long time, but I feel like if I had have listened to my body, maybe I might have ran more into my 40s. I retired when I was 32, and that's quite young for a marathon runner as well. So, and when I retired too, I was sick of it, and I just wanted to do something else and get on with a career. And I think maybe when you have too much intensity, you lose that love for it as well. So I think that's huge, the love and the passion for the sport as well.
Benita, the big Mizuno documentary, like there was footage of you jogging with Craig a lot. Like, so that's the example you kind of say, there's a 12:55 guy and yeah, you'd do all your easy jogging with Craig when you'd be away on camps and stuff?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Like, I didn't do much running by myself. Always train with groups, yeah, for the sessions, and then jogging, yeah, with guys in training as well. So, but, I mean, he used to run really easy. So I used to think his pace was slow. But you always think, you know, they're 2 minutes faster than you at 5K, so you're probably always going a little bit fast, yeah. But, I mean, it was fun, and we used to trash talk all the time, and, we never talked about running, and I think when you're running with people, it's really fun when you're just doing, easy miles and with people as well. So I never thought about it at the time, but, Lindsay Flanagan, who I coach in the US, and she was 9th at World Champs last year in the marathon, she does a lot of her training by herself, and there's no problem with that too. But in my day, a lot of people wouldn't have done that. Yeah.
Lindsay come out to Australia as well, was based in Adelaide before the US trials and stuff, and she was just murder and training, wasn't she? Like just solo?
Yeah, yep. She had an amazing block of training, yeah. So she went into that Olympic marathon trial. And with what Jess was talking about as well, it's just that American system, like it's so cutthroat. Like they don't have the controversy as we have here, but I don't know if all their best people make the team. And unfortunately, she had a few stomach issues and didn't run as well as her training was predicted to be. So, yeah, but she was having a fantastic block in Adelaide. She trained a lot with Tara Palm, who ran, she DNF'd today actually. But, yeah, she had a really good block and she'll be back out to Australia.
Yeah, because if in the Australian model, she's come top 10 world champs at a hot marathon, which would be a perfect person to pick for a Paris marathon. So, yeah.
Well, I think in the Aussie criteria, if you finish top 10, you're automatic for the Olympics.
So she would have been on the team. Yeah.
Benita,
that would have made our selection tough.
you sound like you love the coaching. I reckon what would fit perfect is an elite marathon group in Australia, with it focused on the marathon and it actually has a coach like yourself who's probably a little bit more innovative or caring. What are your thoughts on that? What do you reckon you could get that up and about?
Yeah, look, I think that would be fantastic. And look, I think there's too few female coaches, not only here in Australia, but across the world. And it's not that females are better or anything. It's more just that I feel like I've got a bit of a different approach and I'm not a dictator and sort of, checking Strava to see if someone's done their run or anything like that. Like I'm very laid back, but it's about, listening to your body and that really good communication. And obviously I know all the sessions to set. I don't think that's, I think that's sort of, every good coach knows what sessions to set, but I think it's like the puzzle of putting it together, but knowing each person individually as an athlete. But I think they'd feed off each other. Like with what Jess was talking about, like, Jess, Sinead, and Jess,
Jen.
Sinead and
Jen.
And Jen, like they would train well together, and like they obviously all live in different places, but if we had a group together, I think it would work really well. And look, it works well in America. There's a lot of American, like Hanson's do a pretty good job. There's a lot of, but again, we haven't got too many female coaches, so it's a bit unknown, but it'd be awesome. Although I think, I don't know if Gold Coast, it's a bit hot here in summer.
No, you'll have to move for sure. You'll be down in Melbourne, no doubt.
Yeah, I never trained here when I was an athlete, so I'm a bit of a sook for heat and humidity.
Well, that reminds me, Moose, remember a few years back you wanted to start up this elite group in Ballarat. When you were living in Ballarat, you spoke about the same sort of thing, like starting up a...
Ballarat could work.
More elite
Did
groups.
you spend time in Ballarat? I know your husband's from Ballarat, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from Ballarat, and I came to Ballarat Marathon. And
but
we
was
loved
on
it.
The course. That's right. Yeah.
They thought I was an ambassador, but I was just there to hang out.
Benita, I was doing some research during the week and your consistency at World Cross was incredible. I believe that you raced 9 times, 4 times over short course, which for those that aren't aware, there used to be 2 races at World Cross. There was a short course, which was like 4K, and long course for women was 8K. So you did 4 short course races and 5 long course races, and these were your finishes. 1st, 3/4, a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, 11th, and a 17th. Like, incredible. Like, that almost deserves a round of applause, I reckon, for that. Like, because, we were at Bathurst and we get really excited when, like, one of our girls now finishes in the top 20. And, like, your 17th was your worst. The question is, World Cross is known as the toughest race to win because countries can send 6, whereas Olympics and world champs, they're only allowed to send 3. What made you so good at cross country, and was there anything in particular in training that you did to be so good at it?
Yeah, look, I think my biggest thing about racing is just I hate watching paces. I hate lap splits in track races. I think with cross country, I love that the courses are all different, but I'm just so competitive. Like even when I was a kid, I was a hockey player, but the games would finish when it was too dark to see the ball anymore when we were outside, or like I'd get sent off a bit because I'm really trying to win and getting so fired up at people on the team. So I think it's just that competitive nature, and I love cross country because it's just about racing people on the day. Like I'd go into these races, and some of these Africans, like my 5K PB is 14:47. Some of them had run 14:20, but I can beat them at cross country. And I just think it's running to the conditions as well. So it's one of those things that training-wise, I used to do a lot of sessions on grass, and even like K reps, I do them on these grass fields in Canberra, and I'd go over little hills. So a lot of people would hate that because it would stuff up your splits, but like I didn't care. I wasn't even looking at splits. I was just I had these courses that I used to do, and it was all about sort of just making sure it was choppy and not sort of smooth bike path or track running. So I used to do a lot of that sort of training, and and sometimes I'd wear spikes on grass, but heaps of grass training and heaps of training on uneven surfaces. But look, yeah, I love courses that had mud, that when it was raining, when it was windy, probably the worst conditions, I loved it. And I remember the Africans, like when I won in Brussels, we showed up in our bus, and it was raining and it was windy and it was so cold, and like there was mud up to your knees, or probably halfway up your knees in some sections, and I was loving it. But the Africans, I was watching them, and they all had their heads down, and even when we went to the core room getting ready to race, they still had their tracksuits on going out to the start line, and like they're doing everything last minute, whereas like we're pumped. We've got like strapping tape over the middle of our spikes, got like 15 mil spikes, and I feel like when you're pumped to run in those sort of conditions, I think that brings out the best in you. And I always get out quick. Like I don't reckon my reaction time's very good, like for track races and road races, but in cross country, I'm always out. Like I got rope burn from the starting rope one year because I was standing on it when they ripped it across. So in cross country, they have the starter way. There's hundreds of people in the race. So they have, the starter way up on a big pedestal, and they have the rope about sort of thigh height. And one year, I was standing on it, and I got rope burn because I was just ready to go. I wasn't even watching where the rope was. So it's one of those things, I think you're in the zone. And one of the girls on our Australian team once said to me, like, how do you get out so fast? Because you've really got to go fast. And I don't know how I did it, but I think I just loved it so much that, it was one of those things that I always ran well. Yeah.
Your hockey speed.
Can you teach that to people, though, or you reckon you're born with it? Like, people you coach, like you sound like you just got this white line fever. And I think actually Jess has it too. Like, she's so nice, but she's saying she wants to run as a team and stuff. But when she clicks into, like, beast mode, she just destroys people. But, like, do you try to, like, get that to people you coach and, like, give them tips or talk about that kind of mongrel grit, white line fever? Like, yeah, the rope burn's pretty cool. Like, it's a good story.
Yeah. I think it's hard to coach. I think I look at people that I coach, and some people haven't done enough racing over like shorter distances or cross country or your races where you get knocked around a bit. Like there's lots of road runners where all they've done is sort of running on the road and on the track where no one touches you and you're sort of in your own element. And I think, getting people to race more is a way of helping, but it is very hard to train, I think. So it's one of those things that you can give them little tips, but I always like little phrases to think about. I think like analogies rather than sort of times and stuff like that. So I like to give people analogies of stuff. But I think it's hard to train. Yeah.
I'm picturing you in a training group right now, and wondering how many aspiring upcoming females tried to join you and got killed. Considering how competitive you are, I'm not sure you would have allowed them to keep up with you for too many reps.
Yeah, I mainly train with guys, so yeah.
Benita, massive running boom at the moment. our job at this show is sometimes, or a lot of the time, trying to make the connection between people that love to run and might not know a lot about running to know people's stories like yourself who have done amazing stuff in the past, and your resume is completely unbelievable. But what do you think at the moment, like, do you have to do things, social media is hard? Like, and it's very competitive in the running space as well, and some of the people might not know or have done really good things in the running space. Like, do you see it as you've kind of still got to try and be relevant or, like, prove yourself at times? Like, do you find having conversations with people at times and you have to tell them, like, I actually won a world championship at this sport? Like, is it weird sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. And look, there's a massive running boom. And look, I absolutely love it, but I'm hopeless on social media. Like, I don't post much. I'm really bad at talking about myself. So, so I really rely on people to know my story and know what I do through people I already coach, like word of mouth and things like that. But it's one of those things, like even coming on the show and having a chat to you guys, it's sort of, you're getting the word out a bit more. But I'm a really bad self-promoter. So a lot of people would be like, who the hell's she? So.
You see you're involved ambassador for the race and on the board of events, was it? What are we doing with Gold Coast? How's it going to get bigger and better? And it's selling out. How do we get more people on the course? How do we make it faster too?
Yeah, look, that's a good question. And I mean, this year we sold out at 30,000. We've got 13,000 on the wait list. So potentially we could have had 43,000 people running across the weekend. Wow. It's just absolutely huge. But I feel like, so we've changed the course a bit in the marathon, as you know. I think we can probably get a few more people. Moving the days, so having the half on the Saturday, marathon on the Sunday, I think's helped. But I really think we need to start to fill up even the shorter races too. So those races that sell out are the marathon and the half marathon. And really that's what we focus on. But we want everything to sell out too. So it's hard because I feel like the more people you have, like there was a few timing issues yesterday, and I feel like you've got to make sure the quality's there as well. So do you get so big that you've got so many people and it gets even harder to manage, or do you keep it sort of where it is? But yeah.
On that, with the marathon and the half being sold out, and given that you've run sort of all distances from track to the marathon, do you feel that sometimes people move up too quickly? Like, the challenge of the longest event, I just want to do the longest event, even though for their overall development as an athlete, they should actually be doing the shorter races. Do you have that conversation with your athletes?
Yeah, and look, that's a really good question. I think people move up a lot too quick. And I always say too, if you want to be good at the marathon, you've got to be good at, 5K, 10K and half marathon first. And a lot of people that have sort of done a marathon, then they've come to me for coaching, I've sort of said, well, why don't we sort of focus on 5K, 10K training and getting better at the speed. And look, as we get older, I feel like it's easier to do like longer runs and I know what it's like. I think it's harder to do training for a 5K is harder for me now. I'm 45 than training for a marathon. But but that's a good, and